Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.
Welcome to LDS Unmarried Life, a podcast not associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I am your host, Annette Bybee, and this podcast is for members of the church who are single either because they're divorced, widowed, or not yet married. And today we have a special group. I have an all-male podcast here, and other than me, of course. My first thought when I got all these guys together was I need a list of things to do around the house, but I actually got a little...
Already fixed the car.
We did get some cars worked on here. So, without further ado, we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. Like I said, I'm Annette Bybee. This is my podcast, so I get to invite all guys if I want to. And I am divorced, have been divorced for about 3.5 years, and have 3 kids, ages 10, 9, and almost 8. And we're going to go this way. And you are?
I am Pat Steele.
What else would you like to say, Pat?
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
And what's your marital status?
Available single.
Available single. All right. And next.
I'm Drew Baird. I've been divorced about 3.5 years. And I'm available single as well.
Ladies, if you want to contact any of these guys, email me at annette@annettetalks.com and I'll pass it on. And by the way, this podcast is at annettetalks.com as well as iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Next.
My name is Jed, and I am unmarried. Never have been married, and no children.
Those two things are good to go together, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
My name's Jared. I've been divorced for almost a year. I have a 13-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter.
I am Monty. I have been divorced for about 4 months. I have 2 kids. One's 24 and one's 12.
My name's Steve Smith. I've been divorced a little over 5 years. I've got 2 kids. 19-year-old daughter's on a mission in Utica, New York. Yay. And my son lives with his mother in Utah.
All right. So we've got divorced and not yet marrieds. I'm still looking for some widows and widowers. So if anybody knows of anyone like that wants to be on a podcast, please let me know. I'd like to include them. Anyway, so the goal of today's podcast is to try and pick the brains of the single LDS guy so that us ladies can understand them a little bit better.
Easy.
Just return messages.
Just return messages.
Simple.
All right, so this is the first question I have for you guys.
From one of our other listeners.
No. This is from me. I do have some
your
listener
question.
questions, but this is from me.
Okay.
What scares you most about women?
It's like a Halloween question.
Well, it is almost Halloween, but let's just admit it. I know guys are a little bit intimidated sometimes by women. So I'm just curious as to why or what.
First thing I would say is like if they have a grumpy face. I mean, if we're talking about like on the online profile statuses and stuff, if they have a grumpy face or something, it's like, no.
All right.
I mean, it's like, why did you put your profile up?
What else?
I get scared of women, if you can call it scared, but more turned off by if they're aggressive or they come across intimidating, whether they intend to be or not.
How do they come across intimidating? What do you mean by that?
They are gruff in their voice or gruff in their appearance. They're not very ladylike, if you will. They lack flirting skills, and so it's hard to read them if they're open to conversation or not. They're very closed-minded, closed-bodied, so that makes a huge impact for sure.
Interesting. All right. What else?
I can lift more weights than I can.
If their arms are as big as my legs,
I'm not talking about physical intimidation here. I think most of you guys can hold your own in a fist fight. But I mean, like, okay, this leads to another question that a lady asked me to ask you all. And she said, why is it that some men are afraid of getting married a first or a second time, because I guess she's been running into that. And so that makes me think there's some fear associated with it. And if you didn't
Well,
listen,
heck yeah. Have you
Yeah,
been through a
really.
divorce? Good grief.
Oh my God.
There's some fear.
all right,
Those are two different questions too. First or second time. I mean, holy cow! if
or
you've
third
already-
time for some people maybe.
I mean, well, I would say, especially if you've been in the church and stuff. I mean, if you've gone through one divorce and stuff, I mean, you've already gone through the pains of knowing that you've broken covenants, and it's scary to think that it's like, could this happen a second time? Or you start getting into the thought, it's like, what's broken with me? What do I need to fix? What do I need to take care of before I'm ready to be open for someone else?
Good comments. What else? Anyone else want to chime in?
So,
Yeah, I will. It's Drew. I think a fear I have is that I was married for 30 years. I thought I made a good judgment, but it was difficult for decades. And so I'm wondering, what's the best judgment process? You know, how do I really get to know someone? I want to find someone who's compatible, someone who accepts themselves, someone who wants to feel love and belonging and wants to is striving to be a whole person, but we're all in the process of doing that. And someone who has similar goals and values, obviously.
Yeah, I would say definitely scared of, scared of your own judgment, especially when you've been through that. And kind of like you, Drew. It's my ex. I made a judgment call and felt right and felt like the right one, and we had some difficult years. And so it's. I think a big scary part is trusting your own judgment, and in that, like, trying to see the signs, like, what did I miss in my past relationship that might be similar here or not, and granted, no, I know, no one likes to be compared to your ex, but it's going to happen because you got to figure out, okay, what did I screw up there? What's going to be different here?
So it's fear of getting into another bad marriage, basically. So it's not fear, what I'm hearing is it's not fear of the women necessarily, it's fear of making a mistake. So basically you're fearing your own actions.
That's
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Which kind of
Yeah.
goes with one of my theories, because every time I hear someone saying they're afraid of something, I say it's not that you're afraid of that thing, it's that you're afraid of what your reaction to that thing is going to be.
Well, how can you ever be sure?
Yeah.
I don't think you can. Not 100%.
Marriage involves some risk.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
two people.
Because it's two people.
And if we're not risk takers,
Then you're not getting married again. I mean, it really is. In a lot of ways, to me, marriage feels like a crapshoot because, you do the best you can, but
it's probably better odds than that. But
better than a crapshoot.
yeah,
So one thing I work on is getting to know myself and being comfortable with me and growing as a person. So then I know who, and the best thing to do is be yourself. And then when you feel like someone you can be yourself with, I think that tells you something about the relationship.
but how do you know if they're being themselves?
Yeah.
Yes, good point.
Are you guys mostly comfortable with being yourselves, or do you ever find yourselves trying to be something different?
Well, yeah.
usually comfortable being
Well, yeah,
myself.
what,
A
Pat?
lot of times we're something different. We try to be. We try to be our best selves every time. And that works for the most part, but honestly, at the end of the day, who you are is gonna show regardless through everything. And what I've learned as far as the people that I've gone out with and the people that I'm friends with is being yourself is the only way that you're gonna be for certain that they're finding out exactly what they need to know right up front. I mean, I remember in college, holy cow. I had a date in college, man. Just go home after work, go shower, go shave again, go clean the car, do all this stuff. So everything was perfect. Now, yeah, no.
Now she's lucky if you put deodorant on.
I still do those things.
But now, for me at least, I still will make the effort, but I'm also not overdoing it.
Right.
I'm not throwing everything out there on the first date. All this, I'm not cleaning the car and all that stuff. It's life happens. I've got to take care of me first, and this is kind of secondary to some respect. Although would be nice to be married, I'm sure, having not been married before and being one of the minorities at the table here, it's a perspective that only I can take for myself, and I want whoever I know to see exactly what you're getting.
I guess, what do women expect? That you have something there and then you get married? Just try it? Or do they really want to feel like they're making the right decision too? I think it's not a man-woman thing that we're talking about. I think it's a people thing. Because I think everybody has hesitations and reservations about getting married a first or second or third or whatever time.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we make mistakes in dating, the harder it gets to
Trust your own judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
picker
that.
done broke.
Yeah, I think some pickers are
Yeah.
on the fritz.
that
Or
also-
maybe you're just not confident in your picker anymore. And when you operate from a
Yeah.
place of fear, you're operating from weakness,
Well,
and then you make bad decisions.
I've told you many times I can only date the women that say yes.
And you have dated more than I have dated since I've known you. So you're doing all right there, Stevie. All right, Jed, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I've never been married, and I've been okay with that, for the majority of my life. I'm going on.
Even when you were like 5 and 6, that was all right?
Even then, it's okay. But I've noticed over the past year or two, I've opened my mind to the possibility and possible interest of being married. My hesitation right now is a couple things. One, with everybody getting divorced recently for XYZ reason, and there's a number of reasons, and not interested in who's at fault, it just happens. How long will my marriage last? I want to find somebody I can be married to for a long time, if not forever. Right? I think we all have that goal. So I'm very hesitant to even consider marriage with somebody until I almost know for a surety, if that's even possible, that it's going to work out for the long term.
Right.
That's a good answer.
My
Lady listeners, ask for Jed.
my other hesitation about getting married, after being single for 20 plus years, I have created a lifestyle that fits me. Finding a companion, a partner, a wife, I'm going to have to, I would say drastically, but maybe not drastically. I would definitely have to change my lifestyle. Can I do that after I've been set in my own ways for X amount of years? It's possible. It's going to be difficult and challenging.
Especially if they have 5 kids.
And so that's definitely a concern. It's not a red flag by any means. It's not oh no, I'm not going to get married. It's just something that's going to cause me to hesitate and think about marriage the first time a lot longer.
Right.
And the third thing that has me hesitate about getting married for the first time, a lot of people that I'm dating, I would love to find somebody who's ever been married before, no kids, ladies. But Jed ends up dating a lot of women who have been married once, twice, whatever, and they have children. Can somebody who's ever been a father figure before fill that role? And so there's that concern that I have being married for the first time with somebody who's been married with children.
Right. Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little on the last podcast.
Yeah.
And I think the consensus was that, because we were all divorced at that podcast, and we went around and talked about, would you marry someone who's never been married and doesn't have kids? And I think the consensus was, yes, as long as we felt like this person was emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, because you can learn those roles, right? If you're willing to learn, you can learn those roles. I mean, when we became parents for the first time, we didn't know what we were doing either, right? And I have to say, to your concern about getting married later, I was almost 38 when I got married, and yeah, it was an adjustment, but you adjust. You know, the hardest part is sharing a bed.
Yes.
Learning how to share a bed is really hard. And now, one nice thing about being single is having it to yourself again, except we have kids that come in the middle of the night.
King size. That's all I say. King size. You got
Gosh,
space.
definitely.
I have a king size bed and I still sleep in that.
I was
one.
gonna say.
I know, yeah.
I like king size bed.
Oh, yeah.
Use 25% of the
I know.
My 2-year-old daughter, she would kick both off the bed, a king size bed when.
Yeah, somehow you still end up in that same spot, and the kids are right next to you. They're not interested in being on the other side.
Yep.
All right, so I had a few typical questions, but then I decided that this one would be more interesting.
Interesting.
Okay, so I read someplace that with men, right when they're about 14 or so, they might encounter a woman or a teenager or girl or whatever that they like imprint on, and that becomes their type, their physical type for the rest of their lives. And so I don't think any women, the women I know don't have a type, right? What I'm wondering is if that's the case with men. I want to know if any of you have
I know
a
some
type.
of the women that you know, then they have types.
Okay, like physical types?
Yes.
All right. Well, from my experience, most women don't. I want to hear from you guys if you have a type.
Not
And it's
necessarily.
in complete honesty. Is there someone, do you find yourself attracted to the same type again and again? Just curious.
5'3", blonde hair, blue eyes. No, I really don't have a
This is an
type.
advertisement, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't have a type.
So Jed does not have a type. Who else?
But if anybody's 5'3", black,
That happens to fit that just came out of his mouth. Right. Let's hear it from
I'll
somebody
say
else.
I do.
All right, what's your type?
Because well,
I mean, I don't need to know what your type is, but you have a type, Monty?
because since I've been married twice before, lots of them, well, neither one were active as much and really fit, and so, not that they weren't fit, it's just they weren't into that fitness activities or did things outside as much and stuff, and
So you want someone that's athletic?
yeah, I want someone that's athletic that I can go on hikes with and stuff like that. I mean, I see my dad with fantastic stepmom, love her to death and stuff, but he's kind of sad because like he'll bike and he'll hike and stuff like that, and he can't go with his partner because he's not in that kind of condition to go.
All right, but what I'm that's interesting, but what I'm wondering is if there's like a body type, a hair color, eye color, like that kind of thing that is.
2 eyes, a nose. I mean,
All right.
no, I mean, no, I
okay.
really think it's the person and how I feel with them and how they make me feel.
All right. Any guys have a type that they prefer? They're shaking their heads for you back home that aren't seeing
No.
this.
No,
okay.
no.
In general, I would say for me, no, I don't have a specific type. However, when I am looking at someone I'm interested in, if every profile picture you have is you're done up to the nines,
Yeah.
I automatically swipe down
Why is that?
because I don't feel you are willing to let us in to see who you really are. I typically will swipe up on somebody that is themselves. They may be out in the middle of a hike or on a bike ride or whatever, and I'm not the most athletic guy out there.
So you
But
can't hang with Monty.
No,
basically.
I'm not trying to hang with Monty.
Love you, Pat.
But what I'm more interested in is who is the real person I'm seeing. I mean, if you need to Snapchat all your photos and you throw all sparkly things all over you, no, that's not who you are. I mean, unless you've got like fairy dust floating around you the whole time you're walking around town, that's not you. Show me the real you.
So you want
There
authentic.
are
Yeah,
some,
authentic, yes.
there are some like that though. There are some that they
That have
they
fairy
will
dust?
get made up before they'll
Oh,
go
yeah.
out though.
Yeah.
They won't step outside the
No,
house unless they're made
I
up.
understand that, but for me, when I look at it, it's the partnership that myself and a woman are going to create for
Right.
eternity. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want the partnership that I'm creating based off of the novel that just came out through the door. I mean, I want to see who you are and build on that. I'm not there to take away from where they're coming in, and I don't expect them to come into my life and take away from where I'm coming from. I just want them to be authentic and real to who they are. I mean, I remember a friend of my sister's growing up who she came and stayed with my sister one night, and our dog got in the room, and she came walking out of the room and thought it was my sister, and this girl always was dressed to the nines, and I saw her with no makeup on. It freaked me out. Not that there was anything wrong with her, but that was the first time
unmasked.
I had ever seen her without any makeup ever, and I had known this girl for 2 years.
Wow. So natural. You want
Well,
some
not natural, but realistic.
All right.
I don't have a
Normal.
type, but I could have a type. I haven't met one yet that owns a boat, I would like to try
So any
that
ladies out
type.
there that have a boat, no, Steve.
I'd like to try that type.
So that's what it's coming down to. I think Jed had something to say.
I was gonna say, in terms of type, I don't have a type physically on the outward appearance. My type's more of the characteristics and traits that they bring. Are they gospel oriented? Are they temple endowed? Are they those kind of things? Those would be more of my type than the opposite of that. But from a physical appearance only, I don't have a type.
All right. Have we heard from everyone? You said no. You said no. Everybody else said no. Okay. So it sounds like there's not a type, which that kind of answers a question I've had for a long time. Do you think you had types when you were younger? Do you think there was ever a point in your life when you were like looking for something specific, like, oh, I just love blondes?
No, anybody that said hi to me.
That was Monty. Easy to please. If you like to hike and you'll say hi, you're Monty's type.
Yep.
Jed, you were nodding.
I had a type.
Let me guess, 5'3", blonde, blue-eyed.
Yes.
So now the truth is coming
Still
out.
do.
Well, it kind of confirms that as you get a little older, your priorities change, or maybe you become a little bit more realistic about what you really need in someone.
Yeah, I was kind of go with what Jed said. It's not so much physical appearance, especially as we get older. We really want that more characteristics and gospel oriented stuff and similarities and what common interests,
Right.
stuff like that.
Well, last week when it was just the ladies, we talked about what we were looking for in men. So what I want to know next is, what do you think women are looking for in men?
A unicorn. I listened to the podcast. I heard that you were looking for a
That's
unicorn.
just me. I'm looking for a unicorn. I can tell you what that is when you're all done telling me what you think women are looking for. Who wants to go first? What do you think? No, honestly, in your heart of hearts, because I've heard men talk about what they think women are looking for. And so I want to hear, don't give me the Sunday school or answer what you think I want to hear. I want to know what you actually think that women are looking for.
They're looking for a project.
Really?
Because every time, I consider myself a decent catch. And I'm not trying to be pompous or arrogant about it.
This is Pat.
Not Steve.
But here's this. I've seen all the girls I've ever been interested in have never been interested in me. Now, I don't know why, other than they are always looking for a guy that they can help mold and fix. And the irony to that is, I'm who I am. Granted, I know that I need to be molded and fixed, but their job should not be to come fix me. I'm not the project. And a lot of girls that I knew in college that were dating guys, and if the guys took them away from their friends in that relationship, it always ended badly for the girl, because they were trying to fix the guy, but the guy was secluding them from their friendship, from what they knew and what made them who they were. And so they became completely different. After college, every single girl that I know that dated a guy that did that same process, pulled them away from other friends, absolutely ended horribly. Now, I know I need to be fixed, but didn't sound right. I know that I have things to work on. I know I have things to work on. However, every time that I am interested in somebody, they're looking for somebody that is somebody they can fix. And that's not what I'm looking for in a woman.
I would agree with that, because a lot of the women that I see go for that, or they go for the bad boy.
Absolutely.
I've seen that plenty of times.
Yeah, and when you asked the question earlier about they're saying they don't have a type, they always do have a type.
Really?
They just do not truly admit it. And I'm sorry to burst some bubbles out there.
I would like to agree with Pat.
This is Steve. Right now.
Well, how can we say that though? Because are we saying that about ourselves? So too, that we're not admitting that we don't have types then?
Well, no, I think we all do have a type of some sort, but it goes back to what Jed's saying. Physical
not be
appearance
physical.
really is not that
Right.
is not that big of an issue. It's I hear people tell me, or I've heard people say, I just can't find anybody. And they're telling me all the things that they're not able to do. But then they tell me in the next sentence, yeah, but I don't have time for church right now. Well, that's a turnoff right away. That's a number one thing. If you don't have time for church, I don't have time for you. And if that means that you have to fix yourself before you get to somebody else, maybe part of that fixing yourself gets you in that process down that road to be able to find the person that you're supposed to be with. Maybe that person's standing in your way and you just need the help to get that way. For me as
This is way deep.
But for me as a man, I mean, honestly, if we want to be realistic about it, then we have to be realistic about the whole thing. I mean, that's the way I'm seeing it.
What I think that women are looking for, and it's not the Sunday school answer, it's because I've listened to some of the ones I've talked to, is they want a guy who's truly committed to the gospel. Because from the ones I've talked to and stuff, that's the whole reason that they'll divorce is because that guy was making decisions that weren't according to the gospel. Whether it was actually cheating or even if it wasn't cheating, they were just making decisions as getting involved in whether it's doing more work and stuff, not putting the family first and stuff.
I don't necessarily agree with that because
Well, that's what I've heard from women. Though.
Well, I hear women all the time say, I'd like a good guy that would go to church and go to the temple and honor his priesthood. And there's how many of us sitting around the table?
I'm not saying that
we don't have a lot of dates. Jed may have a lot of dates, but other of us don't date.
Steve, I'm going to call you on that one right now. You are seeing someone right now. So every time I hear that from you, every time we have this discussion, you're seeing somebody at the time. So I just don't believe it anymore. All right, Jed.
I would say that women, what they're looking for in a guy are a couple of different things. One, they're looking for somebody who is productive and thriving, right? They want somebody who's established in their career. They're not necessarily looking for money or if they have their own house or the fanciest car.
Yeah, because I've tried all that.
Best clothes. But they are looking for somebody who's established and is confident in who they are, but is also productive and thriving. And that could be in their career. It could be in the gospel. They're looking for somebody who can match them in where they're at in their place in life within the gospel. They don't want to be dragging. If they meet some guy, they don't want. If the woman is active in the church and temple and whatever, they don't want to necessarily bring a guy that's not up to that level yet.
So why is that what they go after?
So they're looking for somebody who can partner.
Or do they have such low self-esteem that they go after that guy that's behind them?
Who will give them attention, and that's all they get.
Yeah,
that person has some concerns they need to work on.
Yeah, I kind of.
This is Jared.
It's women are looking for somebody that they could be equally yoked with. Like you said, if they have a real strong gospel-centered, and I'm sorry, just because you go to church doesn't mean you have that really strong center. But we all are striving, but you gotta be equally yoked. Some people are struggling more in the church than others. But I'm seeing somebody right now, and that is basically our connection that we made first was the spiritual connection, and we've kind of built upon that. So, I think whether it's gospel or financially or in life in general, we want somebody that's equally yoked with them in their aspects of life that doesn't drag them down. I agree.
And these are all good comments. Anybody else want to add anything to that, or Drew?
Yeah, I do. I think women are looking for connection. They're looking for the ability to have good conversation, enjoyable conversations, common interests, and then building that connection towards the spiritual things and developing and being authentic and developing emotional intimacy.
I like the connection, like Annette talks.
Obviously, we've all got it wrong because we're all single here.
Yeah.
But some of you are in relationships as well, and some of you are dating. So you can't play that victim card anymore, Steve. Sorry.
I'm just
you
saying.
You date more than anybody else that I know.
I'm just saying. You don't know a lot of people then.
I know at least 6 guys, right? So, Good. No, this is really good. We had this discussion last week with all the women, and we talked about what we were looking for.
And it
in
felt
men.
like you were politicians skirting the issue
Well,
when I listened to
I
it.
found out after we turned off the recorder.
Then the truth came out.
I got some more interesting answers, but
So we won't put it on. None of the guys can listen to the podcast and know the truth.
We're gonna
talk about it.
No, I already told these ladies we're having a second podcast, another all-female podcast, because we're going to keep at this until we get everything out there, all the issues addressed.
We solve the world's problems.
Hey, whatever, at least the singles, right? And the women basically are looking for pretty much what you guys said. Referring to what Jed said, yeah, we do. We are all about, a lot of what we look for is security. So honestly, we are concerned with, are you duly employed, right? Are you getting somewhere in your career? But here's the unicorn description, since I always say, yes, I'm looking for a unicorn, because it feels like I'm never going to find it, and it's a mythical creature. But I just want, I want a guy who is healthy, Steve, please. Healthy spiritually, financially, emotionally, physically.
Mentally.
And yet, on top of those things, you have to add the certain je ne sais quoi, which is what I always bring up. I had a guy say, oh, I don't know what that means. I didn't go to law school. I'm like, really? You think we learned that in law school? But there's just certain, like a personality type that I don't even know if it's a type, but I know it when I find it, right? That person that I connect with, the connection, like Drew said.
Yeah.
Someone that you feel a connection to. Maybe it's just the way you interact. Maybe it's that they have a complementary personality, because we don't want we don't want a clone. We want someone that complements us, right? Like my patience is not always that great. I said this in the Steve Solberg interview. Listen to the Steve Solberg interview and tell me if I'm flirting, people. Anyway, the Steve Solberg interview, we talked about how you're looking for someone that's complementary to you and not the same. And I tend to forget that. I need someone whose strengths are the same as my weaknesses and vice versa, especially when you get into parenting, because you want someone to tag team with. And if you're both having your buttons pushed at the same time, there's no one to turn to. But so it sounds like you guys have a pretty realistic idea of what women are looking for. And then that brings me to another big question. Can men and women be friends?
Yes.
No.
All right,
No.
Jed
Yes.
says yes, Steve says no,
Yes.
Drew says yes,
Yeah.
Jared says yes,
No.
There's more to it than that.
Monty says there's more to it, Steve is saying no, Pat,
Somebody is going to catch feelings. And if you can deal with that,
But
great.
that-
but somebody is going to.
But that
one or
doesn't
the
mean
other.
that you can't be friends, though.
Well,
If you
it
can-
depends on how you can deal with that when the one catches feelings.
There you go.
But sometimes the one catching feelings is you.
Yeah. So how you got to figure out how you're going to deal with that.
You know, it's one of those things. If you want to be friends and you are trying to, I guess, widen or broaden your dating pool, you have to be friends with a lot of people.
Yep.
Because then you're having feelers out there and are like, you know what? I got this great guy that you should meet. This is his name. You mind if I set you up with him? And then they're going to come to you. So it's not about working the world in your favor, but being friends is one of those things. It's fact of life. We had friends that were girls growing up. Okay.
Some of us did.
Well, my girls that were friends growing up all had boats, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Introduce me, please.
But as you get older, if you're not married and you don't have friends, you're living a sad life. There's more to life than that. And if that's what you're hanging your hat on all the time, then how are people even going to get to see the good side of you?
See, I think it's just really hard to establish the friendship and then somebody catches feelings. And whether you can work through that or not really is whether you can be friends.
Yep.
I don't have a ton of lady friends, but I've got some core good lady friends.
so men and women can be friends.
I don't think that
Yeah.
I don't think that if there's any romantic interest there, no, they can't.
But you have women friends.
You just have contradicted.
Wow. I think if there's romantic interest, you still need a level of friendship to be that a building block of your relationship.
Well, that's what I know.
Friendship's
That's
really
in a
important. So I
that's in
think
a
maybe what you're
relationship,
asking is a little
yeah.
bit different sense than what Steve's answering back. I don't know, but
I think you can if you're not willing to pursue it. Because I still think that, I mean, it's nice to have friends, and I mean, I was always friends with girls as opposed to guys. But I mean, and there's some that it's like I liked a little bit more, but I was willing not to pursue it though too. Because I liked them for their friendship. I liked them to be able to talk to them and just be able to go out and do things with not having that romantic thing all the time. But I mean, I was willing to sacrifice that though too, if there was that.
There's an interesting thing that came out from Utah State. You can Google it. Utah State, can men and women be friends?
Was that the video that
Yes.
Monty showed? But remember what we decided about that, Monty? What did we decide?
In college, no, because you have too many hormones working for you and stuff.
Okay, yeah. The basically what it was is it's a little video that someone made, and first of all, we don't know how edited that was, but they went and interviewed college students, 20s, 21, 22,
I think it would be
19,
the same results as now.
and all the men said, no, you can't be friends. And all the women said, yes, you can be friends. And so I think that the conclusion...
And then they took it a step further and went back and interviewed the ladies and said, so tell me about one of your male friend relationships. Now, if he wanted to date you, or do you think that if you gave him any leeway that he would date you? He would jump at the chance to be with you. And they all said yes.
Yeah. Well, but that doesn't really change anything.
It does, because he's probably just chasing, looking for that opportunity.
Well, maybe, but if they're in a friendship and it's working, if he's putting his feelings on hold, or a lot of times it's her. I had a crush on a guy in college for a long time that I was friends with, and I don't do that anymore because I know how hurtful it is. But I really do think that was an age thing. I think when you get to be a little older, like none of us in the room are in our 20s anymore, that you realize that there are more important things than your hormones and dating, and a solid friendship is there for you no matter what's going on, right? Jed, you looked like you had something to say earlier.
I was going to say, can men and women be friends? Yes, they can. I've been fortunate enough to where the majority of my life, a lot of my friends have been women, not so much guys. I had a breakfast this morning, actually not a breakfast, a lunch this morning, where there were 6 girls, myself, and a married other guy. We were all friends. So yes, it can be. Now, in the event that somebody catches feelings, what I've learned to do for myself is just distance yourself for a little bit. Maybe for a couple of weeks, maybe for a month, until those feelings kind of subside.
2 or 3 years.
So that was going to be my next question. It was then how do you handle that? Because it could be that she catches feelings, as Steve likes to say. So it's not always just the guy. You know, there's that possibility on both sides. Of course, there's always the possibility that you both catch feelings.
Yeah.
And then, great, what do you have?
Perfect
You have
marriage.
a relationship. Yeah, you have something that could turn into a marriage. I mean, I went around and asked the same question last week, and there were only 3 of us, but we all said, yes, men and women can be friends. And so that's why I was curious to see what the answer would be here. I mean, the thing that I've decided over the last, 6 months or a year is I want the friendship to start to blossom first. Even if I meet someone and I know that they're interested in me in dating, yes, I will go out with them, but I will try and keep it sort of a friendship until I know whether or not I like the guy.
So you automatically put him in the friend zone.
I automatically put them in the I don't know yet zone. I try to not classify right off the bat because I don't know.
Is that lower than a friend zone or higher than a friend zone?
I was trying to figure it out.
Sometimes I do know, and sometimes I know pretty quickly. I just want to be friends, and so we'll have the DTR, the define the relationship discussion, right? And because I don't want there to be any confusion. But a lot of times I don't know, and I won't know for a while. But if you try and go romantic and kiss someone, then it's awfully hard to back off of that. Whereas if you're friends for a while and then the feelings start, then you can maybe...
It's pretty logical.
Yeah.
You got it all mapped out how it's supposed to go.
You don't think that's...
I don't know. I don't know.
She's got
Life
a little
doesn't work.
diagram like rules.
Yeah,
and
life doesn't always work like that.
No, well, that's the thing. I don't think that relationships are always in a straight line.
No.
And they're not. I've dated women who I thought were fabulous and had a great time on the dates, and I did not know enough about them, or they were just recently fresh off a divorce.
I know. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yes. And we're not going to go there, but you guys have had the podcast before. Don't date a woman for at least a year, right? I have the same rule for myself.
gosh.
Right? Because
Poor Monty.
Monty doesn't like it because Monty's newly divorced.
they have to rediscover themselves and get their life in order before they can really explore new options or opportunities.
It's like they need to be in quarantine.
Yes.
Oh,
That's kind of harsh, but yes.
So I have
And
divorce hasn't been
then
filed quite a
some
year.
of us are dumb enough that we always go.
So I will go on some fun, friendly dates with them, but they're just as friends. And either I put myself in the friend zone or I'll put them in the friend zone. And I find that I get to know the person a lot more as a friend than I would have otherwise.
That's an excellent
Because
point.
the walls are torn down
Yes.
as a friend.
But then
The whole time you're dating, you have some kind of a facade, whether you intend to or not. As soon as that friend zone enters, those walls come down. You get to see the real person. I like you. I still am going to date you.
But
or no.
But then
you show the
escaping
real
from
you.
the friend
I'm
zone,
not.
escaping from the friend zone is. I've only seen one person ever do that.
It's possible.
Ron Weasley.
It's
on-
hard.
But you get to see her without her makeup, right?
Yes.
Find out. No, I think that's a good point, though. You get
how many people are open to do that though? Because it seems to me, from when I went to felt and stuff, people feel like this. If you go out with them, oh well, then you've made your decision that this is the person that you have to spend more time with and stuff, and it could be your eternal companion. Well, they put so much pressure on that just going out. It's like it's a date. That's all it is. I mean.
that would be
it's
something I would
food,
like to
it's a
see
hike or
changed.
whatever.
It would be nice to see that. It would be nice to see it. Let's just be more casual and just say, let's
I
get
think
together.
that's just
People
in
have
the
that-
LDS culture though, where they put more pressure on a date than. A lot of LDS women put a lot of pressure on just going on the date,
Yeah.
who they're even going to go out with.
The LDS ideology is first date marriage. It's like, whoa,
What's in
where's
between
step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
I agree.
Right.
Like,
Well,
let's slow this down. Let's
No.
be casual. Let's have fun.
A lot of them say they don't have judgment or anything, but
But that's the expectation. It's like, hey, if I
I
go on the
know.
first date with this guy, he's going to
It's-
want to marry me on the second date. That's out there. It's not right. It's not fair. It's out there. We need to break that apart and
Yep.
throw in all the middle steps
Just
before
because-
marriage.
Well,
Just
that's
We're not
because you go out
carrying
doesn't mean you
rings
have
in
to
our
marry
back
him.
pocket.
not. Dang, I thought you were like Boy Scouts, all prepared and everything. Well, so that's going to raise another great question, but we're out of time, and so I'm thinking we're probably going to end up with a second all-male podcast. But this has been really great, and so I thank you all for participating. And like I said, if anybody, any ladies want to reach any of the guys, just email me at annette@annettetalks.com. Go and listen to the other podcasts. We have a lot of other roundtables, and there's some with Steve and I reading our book called Dating After Divorce and LDS Survival Guide. That's the current title, anyway. We might be changing that. But so go to AnnetteTalks.com and comment on these podcasts. I would like to see some discussion going. Questions.
Answers.
Yeah, and you know what? I was thinking of putting out there, if you want advice, email it to us. And Steve and I will do our best to answer it. And
Or
if
the
we can't
group. We can put it
answer
up
it,
for the round
if we
table.
can't answer it, we'll get the round table and we'll get some input. We want this to be a community podcast where everyone feels like they can gather as singles. So please reach out to us on AnnetteTalks.com, and thank you for listening.
I'm gonna bloom where I'm planted. I won't take things for granted. Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.